Welcome to the Lingua Loom. Tonight's topic of discussion is the Gothic era, shadows of romance, century late 18th to early 19th century. In the same breath that birthed romantic wonder, another voice whispered back, darker, colder, and full of secrets. This was the Gothic, literature of ruins, shadows, and the uncanny. Tonight we step into candlelit corridors, climb ivy-clad towers, and listen to the echoes of a very human fear. Let's first discuss, what is the Gothic? The Gothic is an aesthetic and literary mode that blends the sublime with terror. It explores the uneasy edge between wonder and horror, where the beautiful and the dreadful meet. Settings are often ancient castles, abbeys, monasteries, or wild landscapes. Motifs include haunted houses, doubled identities, tyrannical figures, lost women, monstrous science, and ambiguous supernatural events. The feeling it seeks is not simple fright but a deep, lingering uncanniness. Historical origins and context of the Gothic era. Gothic roots reach back before Romanticism proper. Horace Walpole's The Castle of Otranto in 1764 is usually named the first Gothic novel, a tale of ancestral curses and supernatural portents. By the 1790s and early 1800s the mode blossomed. Anne Radcliffe's atmospheric terror, Matthew Lewis' transgressive violence, and later Mary Shelley's proto-science horror with Frankenstein in 1818. Why then? Politically and culturally, Europe was reeling from revolution, war, and the shocks of industrial change. The Gothic became a form for anxieties about power, family, religion, the body, reason pushed too far, and secrets hidden beneath polite society. Core themes and motifs of the Gothic era. First, the sublime and terror. The Gothic revels in the sublime, landscapes and architectures so overwhelming they inspire awe and dread simultaneously. Thunderstorms, cliffs, and cavernous halls produce terror that borders on ecstatic feeling. Second, ruins, architecture, and space. Castles, abbeys, vaults, secret passages, and ruined towers embody history's weight. Architecture is a character, corridors hide secrets, attics hold evidence, cellars contain the repressed. Third, the supernatural versus psychological. Gothic often keeps us guessing. Is it a ghost, a curse, or the mind's collapse? Anne Radcliffe favored explained supernatural, apparently supernatural events explained rationally, while later works, and many readers, embraced genuine horror. Fourth, doubles, mirrors, and the uncanny. Doppelgangers, secret identities, and mirrored selves expose anxieties about identity and repression. Fifth, women. Victims, heroines, and the female Gothic. A crucial strand is the female Gothic, works by women, e.g., Anne Radcliffe, Mary Shelley, that foreground women's vulnerability, confinement, and moral agency. Gothic frequently dramatizes the endangered woman in patriarchal spaces. Sixth, transgression, violence, and the monstrous. From Matthew Lewis the Monk to Frankenstein, the Gothic probes transgressive acts, sexual transgression, revenge, monstrous creations, and moral collapse. At last, secrets, inheritance, and family. Hidden lineage, tyrannical patriarchs, and cursed bloodlines are central. Family history becomes horror. Key authors and works of the Gothic era. Horace Walpole. Famous work, The Castle of Otranto, 1764. The Proto-Gothic template, supernatural portent, medieval setting, ancestral doom. Anne Radcliffe. Famous work, The Mysteries of Udolpha, 1794. The master of the terror aesthetic, fog, sublime landscapes, heroines beset by mystery. Famous for creating fear through atmosphere rather than gore. Matthew Lewis. Famous work, The Monk, 1796. A shockingly lurid, transgressive novel that injected sensationalism and violent passions into Gothic fiction. William Godwin and Mary Shelley. Famous work, Frankenstein, 1818. Gothic meets proto-science fiction, ambition, Promethean hubris, the monstrous result of rationality unmoored from ethics. The female Gothic and other voices. Writers like Clara Reeve, Mary Shelley, and Charlotte Dacre, and the tradition influenced Romantic poets and Continental writers. Also include Gothic strains in American literature, Edgar Allan Poe, later, and Nathaniel Hawthorne. Narrative techniques and stylistic features of the Gothic era. Frame narratives and epistolary form. Gothic authors often use letters, journals, or nested narratives to create distance and plausible eyewitness testimony. Sensory description and atmosphere. Dense sensory details. Smell, light, shadow, creaks of floorboards, atmosphere creates terror. Ambiguity and unreliable narration. Unreliable narrators and ambiguous endings heighten unease. Readers must fill in gaps. Pacing. Slow build, sudden shock. Many Gothic tales linger over atmosphere, then deliver shocks, emotional management of fear. Gender, politics, and the Gothic. Female Gothic as social commentary. Many female writers used Gothic to critique marriage laws, limited female agency, and social confinement. The threatened heroine often stands in for women's precarious legal and social status. Gothic and political anxiety. Revolutions, terror, surveillance, and the fear of social breakdown appear in Gothic. The monstrous can stand for revolution uncontained or the legacy of tyrannical power. Colonial and racial readings. Later scholarship reads Gothic anxieties alongside colonial violence and racialized fears, stories of the foreign, the other, and forbidden contact. Aesthetics, music, and visuals of the Gothic era. Gothic in visual arts. Artists like Henry Fuseli and Francisco Goya captured nightmare and the uncanny, dramatic chiaroscuro and distorted figures. Music and sound. Minor keys, dissonant intervals, church organ drones, and distant thunder create Gothic soundscapes. In film and video, use low strings, reversed piano, and intermittent silence. Legacy and genres Gothic era birthed. From Gothic to horror, detective, and fantasy. The Gothic gave rise to modern horror, the vampire tradition, the detective novel, and even fantasy. Bram Stoker, Poe, Stevenson, and later Victorian Gothic extend the lineage. Modern resonance. Gothic motifs appear in film, TV, fashion, and design. We still return to the ruins because they let us face fear in controlled darkness. Classroom activities related to the topic. Close reading idea. Compare Radcliffe's explained supernatural moment with Lewis' sensational scene. How do different strategies produce different effects? Creative prompt. Rewrite a domestic space, a kitchen, a schoolroom, as Gothic. What changes? Debate question. Is Frankenstein a Gothic novel, a proto-SF, or both? How does science function as the monster? Suggested reading related to the Gothic era. The Castle of Otranto by Walpole, The Mysteries of Udolpho by Radcliffe, The Monk by Lewis, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, Selected Short Tales by Poe, The Old English Baron by Reeve. Now let's conclude the Gothic era. The Gothic invites us to walk dark corridors without a lamp, not because we love fear, but because we seek the truth that hides in shadow. In the age of romantic wonder, the Gothic pulled back the curtain on the human heart's most terrible and most persuasive secrets. Until next time, keep a candle lit, and listen to the echoes. Follow us on Instagram. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share.